with TV shows, at a certain point, they're my least favorite form of entertainment media.
Oh, really?
Definitively. Because at some point, I'm just like, I'm having to spend 8 hours watching this, really almost sometimes dragged out plot.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. TV is like not. I don't love TV.
Yeah, and film would have the same problem if they weren't just like 2 hours long.
Yeah,
or
they're just more focused.
Exactly. Yeah. And without that in The Last of Us TV show 1, the relationship with Ellie and Joel wasn't bad. It was just forgettable. It didn't have an element in which I was like, this is something that is different from all of the other ones I've seen before, because that's a very basic depiction. Even Last of Us doesn't really deny that. The grown man with the child.
Oh, Last of Us is generic as shit.
Yeah, but it's the way it rolls it out, and I think a lot of that has to do with the video game and with how I just mentioned how
we say that, but generic's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's not, no, because you can play around with it.
Yeah, it's just you've seen it before.
But that's kind of the issue with the TV show. Is it just kind of like, I've seen this format in TV shows, movies all the time. What's this doing different? And I would say nothing really, except for the end of like Joel doing what he does. That's like very well done. Like that's a part like when I compare it to the video game, those moments are like on the same level of him going through.
Really, I thought the ending of season 1 was better in the game, but there were other moments that I thought were better in the show than they were in the game.
I just think it was a lot more raw because
I think like the I'm trying to remember exactly. Like, I don't know. It changed from moment to moment. Some moments I liked better in the game. Some moments I liked better in the show.
Bill being one of them, of course.
Bill, Bill probably being one of them. I'm trying to remember because like the Sam and Henry stuff, I specifically with the characters, I thought was better in the show. But the scenario that they were in was better in the game.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
I think led to the characters more. And it was just like, here, this parallel to Joel and Ellie. There's nothing special going on. There's no big plot significance. They're just in the shit like you are, in their own circumstances. And
I also think
that also, I like those characters more in the game because it's not just the city, they get out and then that's it. It's like the city, they get out, they go and travel for a while. They have those down moments where they're going through houses, reminiscing a lot over like, man, remember when things used to be like this? Joel and Henry specifically are the ones reminiscing that.
They do that. They do that in the show.
Yeah, but it's just way more drawn out and taken at a better pace in the game.
See, and there's this thing, and I'm realizing it as I'm watching season 2, and we get different moments and different scenes, and it's played out differently. There's something about being live action that rounds out the character a little bit more, and I think it's because there's less hands on it. With animation, there's a lot more hands on things, and especially with like motion capture and all that thing. Like, it's the smaller details that only a human being can naturally do. That you can do it in animation, but it's just harder to replicate.
Yeah.
There's moments where Pedro Pascal, and this is props to him as an actor because he really is fucking phenomenal. As an actor. But there's moments where his tone will do something that his face like juxtaposes that creates humor. There's a clip in season 1 that's been rotating recently is when Sam and Henry sneak up on them while they're sleeping, and Ellie goes, "Hey, no, like they're gonna like attack Joel," and she goes, "No, don't do it. He's cool, right, Joel? Aren't you cool?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm cool." And like you laugh at it because it's like, dude, you are not. You need to like have some humanity here, bro. Like, don't be in danger mode. Like,
and that's funny. But that seems to be more like about moments rather than the general experience being preferable in the game, where it's
sure.
And
I mean, generally, like to your point of like storytelling and as a medium, I agree with you. Like, we had a brief conversation before we started recording it all today about how like I truly believe video games are at the forefront of groundbreaking, creative storytelling. I'm talking specifically with narrative. Like if you want to talk about what's hot in storytelling right now, it's got to be video games, right? It has to be because books have been around for 3,000 fucking years, right? Movies have hit a plateau. There's only so much you can do in a movie now. What was the last groundbreaking thing to happen in a movie?
My original point far before that, while we were talking about the Last of Us show, you asked me because I said, I don't think the first season is as good as the video game. without having seen it, obviously, the second season, I'm almost 100% confident it's going to be better than the narrative of Last of Us Part 2. Reason is, first of all, there's no long segments of gameplay segments happening over and over and over and over and over again. It's just narrative. And one of the issues is that it doesn't have enough dialogue, the second game. What I mean by that is Dina, right? It introduces you and Ellie, and it's like, okay, here's their dynamic. They have a cutesy relationship.
To explore that first open world segment at all?
Yeah. But it's like, that's the thing.
They don't shut the fuck up.
That's the thing. That's it, and then she goes away for basically most
She does go away, yeah. She goes home and she's sick for the rest of the game, yeah. I find that annoying, too.
Steven comes in, nothing character.
Who?
Is his name Steven?
Jesse?
Jesse. What's his name?
The Asian dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Jesse. I disagree. He's not a nothing character.
No, that's the thing. He definitely was.
No, he definitely wasn't.
No. When I first saw him, it's like, okay, he's gone. He's like, you interacted with him. There was some strife between him and Dina. Kind of just plot me in the middle of that. Oh, now we're leaving. Okay, bye. Never seeing that guy again. But then he popped back in. And I was like, oh yeah, you're here. Fuck. Especially because they surprised us by doing the whole.
That's a you problem.
What?
This whole okay, we're moving away from a character we're never going to see.
Well, because there's nothing done with him. It was like he was dropped in. He had a little bit with Dina, a new character who also doesn't have a lot of work done yet. Like we had just been introduced to her, and they have
But Jesse had plenty of moments where he was witty and poking fun at Ellie and kind of joking and jabbing. You saw the friendship and it felt natural and real.
Yeah, and I especially saw that when he comes back in the game, and then I'm like, okay, they're actually doing more with him, and he's a good character. He's not just a throwaway character that they're going to cast to the side. Like, for example, Tommy's wife. She's important. She's in the game. She's relevant. Fuck. But then she also goes away, and she's, never in the game. Same thing with Tommy. He's not there.
But it's still a good character.
For her function, yeah.
So a character's only good if you have a lot of screen time with them?
No, she's good for her function, but, my issue comparative with Last of Us 1, for example, is you have a core, strong, dynamic relationship between Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And the times that Bill, not so much. He's interesting when he comes in.
But the isolation is a point to Ellie's character.
It is.
And how companionship brings Abby back from that depth. And that's why you like that relationship better than everything that happens with Ellie, is because that's not fun.
And that stuff, that's why I'm saying I would like that depicted more in a television show where it's entirely focused on that and not filling itself with tons of gameplay that gets kind of repetitive after a certain point.
Right.
And drags itself out.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think they're going to make Dina pregnant in the show.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. They could, but, well, you do want the kid at the end. You like having the baby. I don't know.
Well, there's 3 seasons, possibly. That's why I'm saying.
Well, they've been greenlit for a season 3. So we're getting a season 3.
I mean, there's going to be, part 2 is going to be split up into 3 seasons.
Oh, maybe. We'll see.
But even so, it's a lot more time just spent solely on these characters. You're just working with them. It's not just bits and pieces that you can say, oh, yeah, that's nice. Because they're well written. But are they memorable? Are they ones you think about? Man, I remember Jesse. Fuck. And I don't really do that because there was barely anything to really latch on to make me think of him in that way. Whereas other characters, did. Like Henry and Sam, for example.
I think that's because Last of Us 2 focuses a little more thematically than it does character relations. But the character relations are still there because that's what Naughty Dog does really well, And
it's inherent to, it's inherently important to the themes. It's that's
but Last of Us 1 doesn't have. I mean, don't get me wrong, it has strong themes, but the focus isn't on the themes; it's on the characters.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas 2, it's a little more focused on the themes than it is the characters. And I'm talking if this is themes and this is characters, Last of Us 1 is like this. Mm-hmm. Last of Us 2 is like this. You know what I'm saying?
As in, you're about theme. Say it again.
So.
I just didn't understand it.
Yes. So, in terms of focus, the creator's intention and what they were focusing on when they were creating the piece of art, right? In part 1, they are super focused on characters. With that comes some themes, but they're more focused on the character relationships and how they interact with each other than they are focused on the themes of the game.
Yeah.
Right? The themes just kind of come about naturally through the well-written characters. Now, in part 2, they put a lot more emphasis and focus on themes, which does bring down the character focus because there's only so much focus you can put on when you're making something, right? we skated right past the black people in Nintendo games conversation to get to this conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so because there's more, they put more focus on themes, but because their natural talent is still on character relationships, it's both high. It's just the gap is way smaller, even though themes is higher this time around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get. Okay, I see what you're saying.
And
now.
then for my visual representation, quality where it tips over into good is like down here.
That's what threw me off was the visual, like the.
Oh,
the
you didn't know
like,
where quality
Yeah,
was.
I was like, no, more. I was just like, did this represent themes and this would represent narrative? That was my first issue.
Okay, yeah.
I get what you're saying, and the themes work. They do, but it ends up a more boring experience. Because I'm like, you have said before it's not fun. And you've insinuated before it's because it's dark.
I don't think the first game's fun either.
You see, that's where I disagree. I do find it fun. It comes in, does its thing.
I think the raw mechanics are fun, not so much in part one anymore. I used to feel that way. Like the factions multiplayer, that's raw mechanics. That's fun, right? In part two, I think undeniably the mechanics of the game are just so much more better, or so much more developed and flexible. Is that the right word? I don't know what
flexible, like it allows you to do more.
Yeah,
things.
like the AI is a little smarter. You can plan a little bit better. The game allows you to just do more.
The gameplay's expanded upon.
Yeah, right. So like that's fun, but in the context of the narrative, which gameplay bows to in both games, the game is not fun because in the context of narrative, like it takes the fun away. But that is the creative intention, is to take the fun away.
See, that's the thing. That's where I inherently disagree, because I never found the narrative to not be fun. It's far less engaging because it doesn't have any element for character-wise to latch onto comparative to the first game, which was the core strength of it. Like themes, problem with themes
this is my thing. Both games have a torture scene, right?
Yeah.
I don't think either of those scenes are fun.
Yeah, they are.
But they're both entertaining to me.
They're super engaging. It's like, oh shit, that's fun to me. That's like when it makes you
again. But to me, like words mean things. Engaging and fun are two different things. It's engaging. It's entertaining. It's not fun. It's not fun to watch Joel drive a knife into a dude's kneecap and pop it off. That's not fun. It's not fun to watch Ellie beat a woman to death with a pipe. That's fun because those are the moments where it's like you're seeing the character at their lowest. They're the worst. Like you see what they're capable of. How nasty they can get.
Yeah.
And I want to see that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think I love those scenes for because they tell me about the character where they're at. It's also important to note Ellie's not that. So she is forcing herself to be pushed into that. That's another I just think there's so much more complexity happening in Last of Us Part 2 that nobody ever fucking talks about.
And people don't talk about it?
No, I think people get stuck up on the violence aspect of it and how it's like, oh, you shouldn't be violent or things like that. Like, I don't think people talk about, nobody ever talks about how Ellie is not a violent person.
Yeah.
But the world and her emotional state have pushed her into violence.
Driven her to it, yeah.
Yeah, or drives her into violence, right? And so she does a lot of it. But she's not inherently a violent person. That's why there's moments where she shows empathy and mercy and doesn't,
because she's not Joel.
She's not Joel. The Asian girl playing on the PS Vita, right? Joel would have just fucking stabbed her and moved on, Ellie tries to get through without killing her. And then homegirl pulls a knife and she stabs her.
Yeah.
Right?
Something like that. That's something like that happens,
Joel would not have let Abby go at the end.
No.
Wouldn't have, right? But that's not who Ellie is. And that's why Ellie lets her go at the end, And it's also like the influence of characters like Dina. Dina is also a very loving person, and cares about people. Dina would have never done this violent shit, and that's why she's there, is to keep Ellie at her core, Ellie, If Dina's not in that game, Ellie goes further and crazier, which is something crazy to say because she goes really fucking far in that game. But you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, yeah.
And that's more complex and interesting, and that's why I love discussing art, is because there are these layers and varieties and the what-ifs of them and this, that, and the third versus, a I'm so tired of them telling me to not kill people. I know not to kill people. Not what the game is saying.
Yeah.
It's not like you're missing out on it, you know?
Probably a source of why a lot of people have issue with the writing inherently. They don't like the forcing of that notion, though I never really feel like it. I never shoved it down your throat, really. Like, it's blatant, right?
Yeah, it's
that's
the
point.
main theme.
Yeah.
It's the main, like, the cycles of violence and all that. Like, that's there. But love is also there. And empathy is there. And like, there's just so much context that, like, if you don't apply, it loses it.